दिग्देशकालान्यनपेक्ष सर्वगम् शीतादिहृन्नेत्य सुखं निरञ्जनम् यः स्वात्मतीर्थं भजते विनिष्क्रियः स सर्ववित् सर्वगतो मृतो भवेत् दिग्देशकालान्यनपेक्ष सर्वगम् शीतादिहृन्नेत्य सुखं निरञ्जनम् यः स्वात्मतीर्थं भजते विनिष्क्रियः स सर्ववित् सर्वगतो मृतो भवेत्. The concluding verse of the text, he says, he who renounces all activities and worships the holy place of one's own Atman, which is independent of time, space, and direction, etc., which is present everywhere, which is the destroyer of cold, etc., which is stainless and eternal bliss, he becomes all-knowing, all-pervading, immortal. Sarvagat, Sarvavit, Amruta. Sarvavit is all-knowing, Sarvagataha is all-pervading, Amrutaha is immortal. You become only when you go through all that the verse says. It starts with, he who renouncing all activities. Thank you, ma. So he who means it could be anyone amongst us. There's no preferences, there's no choices here. He who renounces all activities. Renouncing all activities. What does this mean? Yes, Harishji. What does renouncing all activities mean?
Means renouncing the non-essentials.
Renouncing the non-essentials while you're acting. Now, what are the non-essentials?
Well, the fruit of action, the benefits that you have, the I and the my, the doership, and the ownership, the ego, the various aspects which are the impurities which cloud your action, which itself is pure.
Correct. So the action is pure, and while you're performing the action, the various impurities that come and cloud your action. So the fruit of action clouds your action, karma phala clouds, the ahankar clouds, the complexes cloud, the agitations your actions produces also clouds your action, avarana and vikshepa. All the non-essentials. So when they say renouncing all actions, it only means renounce the impediments, the appendages, the non-essentials. Renounce that and enjoy the action. Nowhere in the Shastras have said to renounce action, please. So when they use this language, they only mean renounce the lower, enjoy the higher. Renounce that which incapacitate you. When you have these burdening your action becomes incapacitated. So they're only saying be mentally free, man. Why that baggage? Why that mental baggage? Be mentally free and perform action. And how is that possible? He says that's only possible by worshipping the holy place of one's own Atman. Look at the language. Huh? Swatma Tirtham. No, all of us are very busy. Where everybody is busy, where Siddharamanji? Everybody is busy visiting the shrine outside. I want to go to Kedarnath. I want to go to Badrinath. I want to go to. Where do you want to go, sir?
Hariom Guruji, I have one small query on this. Now,
Yes, sir.
this is about on the verge of self-realization, isn't it? Then in that case, other than any obligatory activities, the rest all anything to do with the world, terrestrial, one has to, disassociate. That I felt it that way.
It is. But let's say if you have a vasana, what do? You have a vasana for the world, let's say. You have a vasana to travel.
All
Example.
Burnt now by this time.
As you reach the pyramid of spiritual growth, as you reach the peak, obviously all the other vasanas have dropped away. But the principle we have to adopt.
Since we are in the last verse, I was thinking this is on the verge of self-realization, where almost all the vasanas are burnt. And when he is referring to activities, I thought really activities other than obligatory.
No, whatever obligatory actions you have, whatever you feel obliged to. In fact, as you rightly said, this as you spiritually keep evolving, the obligatory duties itself keep dropping off.
Yeah.
You see, you don't feel any pressing obligation to the world. Like today and tomorrow, there's actually a family engagement. My extended cousins, children are getting engaged. Today there's one, tomorrow, and in the course of next 10 days, there's weddings lined up. If you ask me, do I have technically an obligation? You may say, yes, as a relative, I may have to go. But is there a pressing obligation from within? No. So you must differentiate between an obligation and a pressing obligation. More than an obligation, some people are waiting for an invitation. 1.5 years, I have not gone for any function. And the moment anything comes, chalo, yaar, time has come now. Let's rush. Before the party arrives, you will be receiving them in the venue. Why? Because there's a pressure. In the name of obligation, there's an anxiety to go there. So when you are attuned to the higher, there is no pressing obligation to the world. All that drops off. Rightly so. In the extremity of it, your only obligation is to realize yourself. But my question to you, sir, is, he says, worships the shrine of one's Atman. But everybody in the name of religion are rushing to some shrine or the other. The question is, which shrine are they rushing to? Everything in the name of religion, in the name of God, they are rushing. Nobody is rushing to the...
Everyone rushing to the external.
External shrines you have built and rushing there. But nobody is rushing to the shrine within.
Because we have not yet taken a U-turn at all.
Not taken a U-turn to God. Very true, not true. So we are all performing in the language of the Kenopanishad. We are all doing objective worship. We're not doing subjective worship. Objective worship was of no use if you don't end up doing subjective worship, isn't it? So worship the shrine of one's own Atman. So the most holiest of shrine, he says, is within, and the God is in the form of Atman within you. So worship it, get to it. So the height of introvertedness is meditation. That perhaps could say meditation. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam raja. The same thing. You have renounced all the worldly obligations and your only thought is sharanam raja. It's only surrender to the self, to the Atman. So you have renounced all the worldly activities and you're worshipping the self, meditating on the self, which is independent of time, space, direction. The world is conditioned. Your experience is conditioned by time, space, and causation. But the self, the transcendental, is not conditioned by time, space, and causation. Another name for the world is time, space, causation. Remember this. Time, space, causation conditions the world, not the Atman. So Atman is beyond time, space, causation, which is present everywhere, sarvatra, which is the destroyer of heat and cold. He just says cold. So destroyer of heat and cold means you've transcended the gross body. At the physical level, there are opposites of heat and cold, health, ill health, birth, death, etc. So you've conquered the gross body. Beyond the thoughts and agitations, you've conquered subtle body. Stainless, you've eliminated the causal body, which is avasanas. So you've gone beyond the gross body, subtle body, causal body. He becomes the all-knowing Sarvavit. That doesn't mean you become the encyclopedia of knowledge. It doesn't mean you must know everything. It's not. When they say all-knowing, what does all-knowing mean? Obviously, all-knowing means you must know everything, isn't it? It doesn't mean that. All-knowing means what? Don't get this wrong. What does all-knowing mean? One 59900.
Sarva Vyapi.
Sarva Vyapi.
All pervading.
Don't
All
use such
knowing.
don't use all high-flown Sanskrit words and all that.
Guruji.
I don't know all that. Huh? All-knowing na enama. Just simple question. You are quite brilliant. You are knowledgeable. You are a graduate, double graduate, triple graduate, granted. But there's always going to be areas what you do not know, isn't it? If somebody were to talk about biochemistry to you, somebody is talking about interior designing, somebody is talking about space technology, there's something you may be fascinated with it, but you may say, I do not know all that, isn't it? So how do you understand what this all-knowing means?
The gathering knowledge.
It's impossible to gather all knowledge, Ilya. You can't gather all knowledge of all subjects, impossible. That's why I said it doesn't mean you become an encyclopedia of knowledge. It doesn't mean that. So we have erased that possibility. So all-knowing means what? Think along. Yeah, Badriji. Oh, Padminima is all reached that state of Turiya already. Tat Tvamasi, only they are talking only that language nowadays. She doesn't come down only now. Yeah, Badriji.
From a relative standpoint, you can never be all-knowing because there is always something that you do not know. But if you relate the entire text, which says that there is only Brahman and there is nothing else, then the meaning of all is Brahman. So he who has Brahma Jnana is all-knowing and nobody else is all-knowing. This is my understanding.
Correct. Absolutely right. All-knowing means you become the knowing principle with which you know everything. Without the Brahman, you do not know anything. You cannot know anything, isn't it? So all-knowing means you become the knowing principle. You become the very consciousness. And without the consciousness, you are not conscious of anything. Now you're conscious of mathematics because of the consciousness. You're conscious of physics because of the consciousness. You're conscious of ATMABODHA is because of the consciousness. So you're conscious of is only objective. But that which enables you to be conscious of is the consciousness. And that consciousness, he says, is Sarvavit, which is the Brahman. So knowing Brahman is knowing all. It is not informative, it is becoming that pure consciousness yourself. It's beautiful. It's really real music. It's a music. Sarvavit, all pervading, and you become Amruto Bhavet. You become the immortal self, means you have transcended the cycle of birth and death. You have attained immortality. Nothing there is left for you to achieve. I must say, every word is pregnant with meaning. Not first month, 9th month. Very heavy with wisdom. It's loaded with wisdom. It is power packed. There's so much content in every phrase, in every section. You can continue to reflect. You can continue to milk and eke the wisdom. The milk is the wisdom. The cow is the text. The milkman is Krishna. You're all the cowherd. The calf, rather. You're all the calf. This is, they're said in the Dhyana shlokas. The cow gives milk only in the presence of the calf. What is the verse, Rajima? Dhyana shlokas? Sarvopanishado gavo dogdha gopalanandanaha partho vatsa sudhir bhokta dogdham gitamrudam maha. So in that mantra, in the Dhyana shlokas, he says, the cow is the Upanishadic text, the literature, the Shastras. The milk the cow gives is the essence, philosophy. You need a milkman, which is Lord Krishna, and the calf is Arjuna. If not for you all, we wouldn't have had the opportunity to milk the wisdom of ATMABODHA from the Shastras. So I truly bow down to each one of you for giving the opportunity to study such a profound text, ATMABODHA. ATMABODHA means the knowledge of the self. It can't be possible without you all. And thanks for facilitating it. And we have to continue to drink the milk, which is the extract of the wisdom. So there we conclude the text. So just to remind ourselves that this is not the end, but just the beginning, I request Gayatri Ma if she could play the first verse for everybody, so we all can chant the text together, please. Tapo bhikshina papanam shantanam vitaraginam mumukshu namapekshoyam atmabodho vidhiyate. So this is just a humble reminder to each one of us. It's not the end, but a humble beginning. So I appeal to each of you to use your swadhyaya, the time for self-study, early hours for your own study and reflection. But you will always remember the ATMABODHA, because you should begin your early morning sadhana study by chanting the invocation in the first 2 mantras. Please chant the invocation in the first 2 verses and get on with your study. And that way you will certainly remember the great text ATMABODHA. Right? So as it had been indicated and we have informed that having concluded the text and also having experience that you all are in the satsangs, in the various texts we are gathering every week. Moving forward, we will wind up the Wednesday classes, so there will be no further satsangs on Wednesdays for now. But for any reason we find to initiate with another text, we will always come back to you. So till then, we will hope to connect with you all on the other days, which is the Sunday Gita classes, the Friday Upanishad classes, and the early morning on Mondays, which is the Bhaj Govindam, which we'll also be concluding the text soon, but there will be a continuity through salient verses known as the pearls of the Gita, which will be the offering there. So these three classes would continue. And I know, not just hope, I know I'll see you all there to continue our sadhana. Okay. Hari Om. So we'll conclude the class with the Shanti Mantra. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.